Good enough. Start that again. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Pete and Jono from the Niners DNA team. It's our weekly NFL Best Bets program, and we've got quite a plethora of betting options for you today. We both like a bet. Just quickly for our Australian viewers, mate, any good on Derby Day yesterday?
Yeah, look, I had a couple of little winners across the board. So I was I collected. Where's my little results? I had Private Eye at Rose Hill.
Beautiful.
Nice little win there. And a couple more that'll come to me. Old Flame at Flemington.
Yep.
So just enough to keep, and Pale King at Rose Hill and race four. So just enough to keep the money ticking over and give me a little bit of a bank to spend on our Niners Rams game.
Yeah, well, just for our American viewers, we have it's like the Kentucky Derby week down here in Australia. We've got the Melbourne Cup. The Saturday beforehand is Derby Day, and that's the 3-year-old Derby. You've obviously got the Kentucky Derby that you guys all go to. But anyway, let's get on with the Niners' best bets and go back to last week in regard to, not that, we don't want to go to that one. That is later on. But this one.
Oh, let's
beautiful
go there. Look at
price.
that.
Ray McLeod getting home for $10, mate. That is a great result.
Absolutely, yeah. We called Ray out last week for his appalling hands the week before, and said, "Mate, when it comes, you better take it." And he did, and that was cha-ching, 10-1.
That was cha-ching. I remember you saying, "And you better give us $10 to prove it," and he did. And so punters went home happy. If you had $10 or $100 on it, you are going to be a very happy little camper. So
Absolutely.
We've got a couple more, well, 8 more things to talk about today. We've got some singles, and we can multi them up. Then my NFL underdog 3.5-point spreads that we're going to get to. But the first one we've got, and we're going to look at a little bit of footage, is Matthew Stafford with a yes or an interception. So we talked about this in the preview, Jono, but remind the viewers of why we're taking this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bets here that we're going to talk about in terms of what, and we'll refer back to the preview, because they were kind of like little sneak peeks, I guess, into where we're thinking this week. But to kick us off here, it's the fact that Matthew Stafford has the most giveaways of his career at any point of time, and he's had 11 of the 13 interceptions are him at fault. He just can't keep it out of the opposition's hands, and that's a problem. So I'm backing him to throw an interception on a large stake this week. It's not something that you can multi up, so it's something that you're going to need to put a larger stake on. But at that I think it's money, and you can see the interceptions here that he's given away. And the amount of pressure that the 49ers got in with 7 sacks in that opening game against them in week 4.
Yeah, that's right. And just wanted to show you the pressure that we were putting on there. That wasn't due to obviously the interceptions that he's going to throw, but that is in terms of the pressure that our D has been able to put on Stafford.
Yeah.
So
look, their O line is trash at the moment. I know they get back their starting center, but they just haven't been able to give him enough time, or give anybody enough time as a quarterback. I don't care who it is, without having to make a fast decision. And when you speed up the process, you increase the chance of errors, and that's what we're seeing with Matt Stafford. And I expect that's something that you can jump on at a larger stake, as you can't sort of multi that up with any other options. But I think that's a almost decent share.
That's
very
decent interest.
Yeah.
For your $500 and $1,000 punters, that is money for jam. You put $1,000 on, you're getting 730 back. That's a good day's work as far as I'm concerned. You can put a couple of G's on. Bet responsibly, as we say. So that is the first one we're going to look at in terms of our singles. Let's have a look at the next one that we've got. And CMC is playing tomorrow, a week with the playbook in hand. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that we kind of alluded to in terms of Christian McCaffrey's almost familiarity with the Rams. The Rams get to play him 2 weeks in a row. They had the bye last week, but previous to that, they played Christian for the Panthers. They got the bye, and they come back against the 49ers, and here he is again for them. And in that game that he had with them, he had 158 all-purpose yards. They're asking for 99. He's been in the playbook for a week, as you've mentioned. So I expect him to have a much more expanded role. There's lots of factors that you put into this in that Deebo's out as well. So you do expect him to feature more in the pass game. And the 158 yards that the Rams conceded against Christian McCaffrey was the most they'd had in 3 years. And the last time that they allowed something like that was in week 1, 2019. And guess who? Christian McCaffrey, when he had 209 all-purpose yards. So I'm expecting him to cover that 99 comfortably.
Another pretty high price in terms of the, your bigger punters. You are, even if you put $100 on, you're getting 88 back. So again, that's building a bank for our Australian guys. So, you've got $88 to spend on Melbourne Cup bets to spread around. So CMC to go over 98 yards. Our next one is the CK, the Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, he's a guy that's had a lot of success against the 49ers just in terms of yardage. I mean, I think the last time they played, he scored he had 118 receiving yards. Just because he seems to be the only option that they really have to get this offense moving. And even in doing that, the Rams were comprehensively beaten by the 49ers. So I expect that to change. He's not to change in his last 4 games against the 49ers. He's had 144, 122, 122, and 118 yards. So covering 96 at home for him as the featured wide receiver. Given that he plays a lot out of the slot, and we've kind of got some issues in and around the slot defensively, I expect him to be targeted often, and sort of chip away and get over that coverage of 96 yards.
He's the number one receiver, as we talked about. They go to him so many, that's a good reason that he's the number one, because his route running is second to none. I think he's the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, and for the 49ers, it's just about limiting explosive plays. Like, you're never going to take him out of the game. He'll always be thereabouts around that 8 to 10 reception mark, and probably more targets. That's what he does, and that's why he is one of the best receivers in the game.
Yeah, 100%. BA, one of my favorite players of the Niners, going over receiving yards.
Yeah, here's another little nice option for you if you like that, and you're thinking about that Deebo's not in the offense this week, so BA probably steps up as that wide receiver one. The risk here is that they're probably putting Ramsey on him to try and shut him down. But if you think that if you think about what BA does best, it's those short underneath routes where hopefully they can sort of create some concepts, some mesh concepts, some rub routes, and all those types of things, just to get him into a bit of space in the handball in his hands early for some yak. And I think that's how the 49ers will utilize him in the same way that they have Deebo, or have with Deebo. And this is just the the mini version of Deebo.
Yeah, I think, again, better than bank interest. And then we're back to Cooper, because we know that he's going to get targeted at least 15, 16 times.
Yeah, I circled early when I was looking at best bets, going, if this is anywhere near 8, hit it. And out it came at plus 7.5. So he needs 8 receptions. And I think he gets it just through the way that the Rams like to use him in their offense.
Yeah, and the thing that before we go to because I'm going to jump the gun a bit here, but I know we're going to get to a multi on this, and I think it's probably the best multi that you have presented, that the Niners DNA guys have presented. But just finish it, the last leg off here. I think it's the last leg of the five leg multi.
Yeah, I mean, you can these you can look at with Christian McCaffrey around the longest. They're interesting markets because it's the longest reception, or you can have the longest yardage run. And I think his longest run is around that 14.5 as well. If you wanted that from a rush perspective as well, if it just depends on how they use it. But I just think with everything that's going on with the 49ers and Christian McCaffrey, as we've mentioned, he's going to have an expanded playbook. I expect him to be motioned out pre-snap into the slot a fair bit, and they'll still have, with Jeff Wilson still in the backfield, and they can, if they've got that dual-headed monster in the backfield there, and then they just motion Christian McCaffrey out based on the package they see, they're going to get a mismatch. And for Christian McCaffrey to have a run of 15 yards or more, I think is pretty good option to have. So that's something that I really liked when I saw that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Again, better than bank interest. I know we keep saying that. But here's the 5-leg multi, which I think is the best we've presented. And I will be all over this like a rash.
Yeah, so it's hard to find a value bet when you've got two teams that play each other so often, in terms of just a one option. So this is probably my best value bet in terms of the multis that can get you up into where the value's at, and you can see that that's paying 20.75, and if you've got a power play in your sports bet account, you can bump that up to 23.50, or you can just keep it there and put a bet return on, and see if you can get something back. If one of these legs fails. But again, we're looking at the rush yards for McCaffrey at 62, I think is really good based on the evidence that we have in front of us of how he plays and how he's gone against the Rams.
Deebo out.
Again, with Deebo out as well, that adds to the Brandon Aiyuk package. And then I'm also getting Christian McCaffrey in the receiving game as well, along with Kupp. So, I mean, I think they're 4 rock solid bets. And then I'm taking, I believe the 49ers can win. I believe that this game is going to be won in the trenches. Traditionally, that's where it's been played, and that's where the 49ers have dominated. And I just think that when you line up even a banged up defensive line, that the 49ers can really sort of set the tone there. And I think they'll be stinging from last week. So the minus half a point, I think for the 49ers is a great option to boost that multi up to that value market. So that's my value bet for the week.
Beautiful. And now we go into a couple little multi options for you in case you want to spread your investment a little bit. So here we have a CMC and an SF.
It's like the CMC Music Factory bet here. We've got Christian McCaffrey again. We're just honing in. This is, you're peeling out a couple of the other options and keeping it as a 3-legger. You can boost it to 540 on 40 cents, adding to the $5 bet, or you can put the bet return on, so that if something doesn't come up, you can get your money back as a bonus bet here with Sportsbet. But you can see we're going all in on Christian McCaffrey, and we're just splitting those odds as opposed to the receptions and the receiving. So we're getting 2 lines again for Christian, as we expect him to get the job done tomorrow. As we said, history says that, and then we're throwing the 49ers into win, and you're getting a nice juicy $5 for that.
And the next one's a receiving multi.
Yeah. So this is those receivings. I'm just going, we're going to hit Christian, we're going to hit Kupp, and we're going to hit Brandon Aiyuk. And we're just going, we're hoping that, we're going to see some passing done, some yak from the 49ers boys, and then Kupp getting his receiving yards based on the volume of targets he'll get. And 650 is pretty good value.
All of them. I mean, if 3 of them have to, if the big fiver gets up, then you can guarantee that a couple of the other ones are going to get up as well. So I've gone for, my league wide multi, Jono, is that, and there's some news off the back of this. I look Detroit Lions. I've got a soft spot for Dan. I'm trying to think of his last name. Dan Campbell, the coach of the Lions. He just wears his heart in his sleeve, and he's such a dryer.
Yeah, doesn't he? He was good value to watch on Hard Knocks.
Oh yeah, I loved him on Hard Knocks. He's a bit out there. He's a bit mental. He has about 5 coffees a day, and that's before 10 a.m. But if we look at the Dolphins, Tua's back, and they have to travel up to Detroit in a colder climate on a turf field. I think the 3.5 spread is definitely a number that I'm very happy to bet with in terms of an underdog at $1.94. The Cardinals will get a lot closer and possibly beat the Vikings, I think, even though, because they're coming into form. Last week they played really well and got the dub.
I mean, and the squirrel Kyler Murray got his safety blanket back with D-Hop.
D-Hop's back. That's the other thing. D-Hop is going to ensure that these guys are going to score points, and it was a huge point scoring game last week. 42 to 37 or something like that, where they got home. So going up into some colder climates doesn't bother me with D-Hop back and Squirrel getting his, as you said, his security back, and they're in form. So I think winning form is good form. And then the Giants, bit of news off the back of this one to fill us in there, Jono.
Yeah, I think about 15 minutes ago, Adam Schefter tweeted out that the Seahawks are expecting DK Metcalf to make what could probably only be described as a miraculous recovery. And he is expected to take the field against the Giants, which means that market that market may even get juicier if you wanted to multi it up now. That may swing a little bit more against the Giants, and you might get a little bit more value there, because I think I like this one. I think the Giants are a good chance. Your form is your form is who you are, and they're playing well.
And he's coming back, and you said it as nearly a miraculous recovery. Is it a desperation move from Pete Carroll? We don't know. But Brian Daboll is the coach that the New York Giants needed. He was with, obviously, the OC down over there at Buffalo with the Buffalo Bills, was, very much a big part of the development of Josh Allen. He's doing wonders with Daniel Jones. You've got Saquon Barkley back healthy, 40-plus yards every game. So, again, the 3.5 spread across all of these games were too juicy for me as I looked across all of the handicap spreads that we're getting from Sportsbet. So, look, you can power play it up to 7-13. That's what I'm going to do, and take that as my across the NFL multi. So we're just going to go back and recap some of yours, Jono. So we're going to go back to slide 1, and I do have some. Let's not go to that one. Let's go to the next one with Matthew Stafford and interception. Let's go back to when our good man Talanoa Hufunga intercepted, and what I loved about this was his move. So talk us through this one, Jono, so you can see Hufunga make the decision.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's right. But that talks to everything that was coming before it and around that play. Just the pressure at the defensive line and the lack of time that Matt Stafford has here. It's just like he's going, all right, I got to go quick screen, and you've got Talanoa Hufunga there just eyeing it, jumping the route, and like his target's Cooper Kupp. I mean, that's another thing in terms of the 49ers game plan in defense, that Cooper Kupp is going to get the ball often. Like, if they can game plan around that and start putting some guys that are looking to jump routes, like the interception could be there very, 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 very frequently.
Well, you can see here before this play, they sacked him. They sacked Stafford. So he's under pressure already. Well, no, he's not. There must be the next play after this. Hang on, I've gone back a little bit too far.
That's all right.
This is the one where they sack him, because they always go high on the next one. No. Yeah, there it is. No, they've got him. I thought it was a sack that they got him on the beforehand. But look, that is a phenomenal bit of play from the Hufunga, and I guess, he will. I think he definitely will play. And I want to get rid of that green stuff, so let's get rid of that. So just anytime you're asked to process that as quickly as Matthew Stafford has had to because of the O-line, it just spells trouble. That's right. So then we've got the CMC at 98.5 over, rushing and receiving at $1.88.
Yep.
We've got Cooper Kupp. Oh, you can take us through after this one, 95.5 over receiving yards. What's the next one, Jono?
Just B8 to be that number one wide receiver for the 49ers with Deebo out. You expect him to to utilize him in that same way. So I expect him to get those balls underneath and create some yak for us. Cooper Kupp on the receptions. He's there virtually their only option at this point.
100%.
I love that one. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to feature in the pass game. He's going to feature in the slot, and for him to pick up 15 yards on one of those carries is a good one. And these are all singles. So as he's saying, take the big stake before we move into the multis. This is the value bet where you can start putting all of those possible options for a same game multi together. And that's looking at Christian McCaffrey in the receiving and rushing game, and Kupp and Aiyuk in the receiving game as well, with 49ers to win. This is the CMC Music Factory bet. So get yourself into Christian McCaffrey, and the 49ers go all in there. That's a nice one.
Showing our age, mate, the CMC Music Factory. Anyone out there who is watching, I know there are some people watching. If you know the CMC Music Factory, let us know.
And this one, the receivers, I think, I just like that one. I know that where the 49ers are placed around their receivers, and I think those two are going to feature heavily in the pass game, as Kupp always does as well for the Rams.
And then my 3.5 point spread multi with an underdog vibe. We've got Dolphins at Detroit with a 3.5 spread. We'll cover that. the Cardinals will cover the 3.5 at Minnesota, and the Giants will cover that 3.5 for me at Seattle Seahawks, even with the fact that DK Metcalf is back. So we will be up tomorrow morning, mate, at 7:25 for our game. I try and get up a little bit early to watch a little bit of Red Zone to get in the mood. Do you do that, Jono?
Yeah, for sure. I'll be doing that and having to sort of juggle the work commitments with catching any 49ers. I prefer the 4 a.m. games at this point.
Are you going to go into media blackout, or what are you going to do, mate?
Oh, I'm gonna. I find it really hard not to at least sort of take snippets and see how we're traveling to sort of have it on where I can and then review after. But yeah, it was found it very, very hard last week.
All right. Well, listen, guys, we showed you we had some value for you last week with the anytime touchdown scorer getting home with Ray McLeod at $10. We've got another slew of bets for you to go through. If you want to rewatch this, get on with your local corporate bookmaker. If it's overseas, it's probably going to be Caesars or one of the other ones that I can't think of. But we bet with Sportsbet. That's our preferred bet provider. And you all guys have good luck. Good night to the guys over in San Francisco. Well, it's going to be good morning very soon. And good night or good afternoon to our viewers in Australia. Thanks, Jono, once again for your detailed form analysis. And I'll see you tomorrow evening for the review of hopefully a 49ers win.
Go those Niners.
Go those Niners. And here we go.